Hey, what is going on, guys? I hope you all are doing well. Elliot here. Welcome back to The Fragrance Well. All right, so today we're gonna do my top 10 summer fragrances. I do not mean my top 10 summer fragrances I like to wear. I mean 10 fragrances that I think really best capture the essence of what a good summer fragrance is. Obviously, these are gonna be my opinions. They may differ from yours. You're gonna probably see some scents on here that you probably maybe wouldn't expect, or maybe I'm leaving off some that you wouldn't expect based off what I've talked about so far. So I will talk about what my favorite summer fragrances to wear maybe in another video, or maybe at near the end of summer, I'll just share what my most worn summer fragrances are. But yeah, we're gonna talk about fragrances that I think best capture the essence of what a good summer fragrance is. What is a good summer fragrance? Pretty much anything that really counters the extreme effects of being in summertime heat or humidity. Specifically here in Florida, the humidity is usually always pushing near 100% because there's always some rain in the area during the summer months. So humidity is high, the heat is high, and if you're outside in particular, you definitely want something that just kind of counters that. You want something that can cut through that humidity, something that gives you a overall cooling feeling, something that is refreshing, maybe fruity and vibrant, but not overly too thick. Maybe something that gives really warm weather vacation vibes. Got a couple of fragrances that do that here. We're gonna go over them once again. Top 10 summer fragrances in my collection. Before we get started, as always, please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and please hit that bell icon, enable notifications so you can be notified when I upload new videos. Let's get into it. All right, first up, we're gonna start with number 10, then go all the way to number 1. So from the House of Lalique at the 10th spot, this is Encre Noire Sport. Lalique Encre Noire Sport. So the reason I put this on the list at number 10 is because, you know, this is maybe not, I would never put this at the top of a summer fragrance list, but it is a great warm weather fragrance, mainly because it kind of has a wet grass smell to it, which is the other reason I put it on here. Since it rains here in Florida, I have to have something that makes me think of rain, but also can counter the heat. And this one can do that. Has some citrus off the top. Encre Noire vetiver, in my opinion, makes me think of damp earth and wet grass. This still has that, but it's just not quite as strong. I think there's some musk to kind of help with that warm weather feel that this has. Has a little bit of an aquatic, watery feel to it. So that's why I think this fragrance definitely captures the essence of summer in Florida, or anywhere where it rains at least. And it still works great as a summertime scent. Once again, at the 10th spot, coming from the House of Lalique, this is Encre Noire Sport. All right, next up, coming at the 9th spot, from the House of Xerjoff, this is Neo. Xerjoff Neo. All right, now please don't get pissed at me because I put this at number 9. I know for a lot of people, this is a top fragrance for the summertime. Now, it did make the list, so, you know, give me some credit for that. But the reason I put it at number 9, all that joking aside, first of all, great citrus in this by way of bergamot. Has some green notes in it. A little bit of a soapy vibe to me because of the neroli that's in here. Doesn't straight up smell like soap. It just kind of has that texturally and that vibe to it. And also, I believe dried woods and vetiver is in this. And it's also a little bit smoky. Now, this had to make the list at least because this does counter the Florida heat very well. I wore this last week on a very hot day, and it does give me that refreshing nature I want if I'm gonna be outside in a lot of humidity and a lot of heat. But the reason I put it down at number 9 is because the green effect that this fragrance has just makes me think a little bit more spring than it does summertime. When I think green fragrances, I would place those more so on a springtime list, not necessarily in a summertime list, even though they can be worn in summertime. Really, it's just that really sharp, juicy bergamot that this fragrance has. I think that's the only thing that makes it a possible choice for high heat. If it did not have that, I think this would be a 100% spring and fall fragrance. But I do think it is worthy of being on a summertime list. And once again, it's at the 9th spot from the House of Xerjoff. This is Neo. All right, at the 8th spot from the House of Mason Francis Kurkdjian, we have got Aqua Media Cologne Forte. Mason Francis Kurkdjian Aqua Media Cologne Forte. Now, I do also think this is probably a stronger springtime fragrance, but the fact of the matter is this one, similar to Neo, just smells so good in the heat and the humidity. So this is overwhelmingly a matcha green tea fragrance mixing with fennel. There's a nice amount of lime in this, and it's a heavy musk fragrance. I think that lime and that musk is what makes this a good summertime option, even if I don't think it's necessarily the best summertime option. There is a little bit of a watery feel with this too. It is not really super dense or heavy, so this can easily work in high heat. Again, that slightly green feel that it has, not so much as Neo, but it is kind of there. It's why I put it a little bit lower on the list, but this is still a great summertime fragrance for me, and so far it is one of the most worn ones I have worn since the summer heat really started to kick in. Once again, from the house of Mason Francis Kurkdjian at the 8th spot, this is Aqua Cologne Forte. All right, coming in at the 7th spot from the house of Dior, this is going to be Dior Homme Sport 2021 release. Dior Homme Sport, the 2021 release. You know what, I really would love to get my nose on like any version before 2017. I've smelled 2017, but I haven't smelled any of the prior ones. I know a lot of people talk up 2012, so if I somehow get a chance to smell that, I'm definitely gonna compare it. But this one here is based off of the newer, re-perfumed, should I say, Dior Homme fragrance, Dior Homme 2020. And I gotta say, I still place this one slightly ahead of that. This is an awesome summertime scent, very gentlemanly scent, more on the woody side of things, but it has very sharp citrus by way of lemon and aldehydes in the opening of the fragrance, but still has that underlying dry cedar, woody, accompanied with LME resin DNA that is synonymous with Dior Homme 2020. So for that reason alone, that's kind of why I put it at the 7th spot, just because it's more woody than anything, but it's still undeniably a warm weather fragrance. Could be a little heavy for some people, to be honest. I'm just kind of thinking outside of myself, or at least I'm trying to, but this is a great warm weather fragrance. It's one of my favorites in my collection. And yes, I put it at the 7th spot just because based on what else I have, I think that's a good place for it. Once again, 7th spot from the house of Dior. Dior Homme Sport 2021. All right, coming in the 6th ranking spot, another one from the house of Mason Francis Kurkdjian. This is Aqua Celestia Forte. Mason Francis Kurkdjian, Aqua Celestia Forte. So this is another through and through excellent warm weather choice. Definitely will cut through the humidity. Again, sharp citrus in this by way of lime and tart blackcurrant. Some nice fresh floral notes in here. A lot of musk as well. Main reason I chose to put this at the 6th spot is because, well, all the other fragrances that come after this one I think are just better summertime representations of fragrances. And also, I think the florals in this maybe fits a little bit better with spring, because this is heavily floral. I mean, it's not like powdery or anything. It's just kind of this clean floral feel, but I like to think of florals being better for springtime, but the sharpness of this and really the power of it, this is actually a fragrance that has some really good lasting power even in the heat and humidity. That's why it's still a good option for summertime, and I just can't deny that. Once again, at the 6th spot from the house of Mason Francis Kurkdjian, this is Aqua Celestia Forte. All right, moving on to the top 5. At the 5th spot from the house of John Varvatos, it's Artisan Pure. John Varvatos Artisan Pure. Oh man, I still think this is the best John Varvatos fragrance in my opinion. Vintage being a close second, but Vintage is definitely more of a cool weather scent, so it's obviously not going to be on this list. This is summertime scent through and through, far better than Artisan in my opinion. You got a little bit of a clementine orange flavoring. There's some petitgrain in this, so some parts of the bitter orange tree. There's this kind of a beachside woodsy smell. This is an excellent warm weather vacation scent, which I gotta put those on the list. And overall, just a chill, easy and pleasant fragrance. One downside about this is it may not necessarily be the best choice for like intense humidity and intense heat, mainly because I just don't think it has the staying power. But if you're kind of going out quickly, this is a good one to put on. You just wouldn't expect this one to last all day long, but it smells like summertime. So even though it doesn't have that utility, so to speak, it has to go on the list, and it's just better than the other ones I've talked about so far, in my opinion, in terms of just pure summertime vibes. Once again, from the house of John Varvatos at the 5th spot, this is Artisan Pure. All right, at the 4th spot from the house of Day 3 Fragrances, it's Bani. Day 3 fragrances, Bani. So this one, another one I've talked about as a perfect warm weather vacation scent, but it can just be worn in the warm weather in general. Mango, mango leaf, a little bit more on the green mango side, lots of musk, sugary notes, beachside florals, all makes me think summertime scent. This one edged out Artisan Pure in my opinion just because it's just a more complex fragrance. I don't necessarily want to say better, that's a little bit too subjective because anybody can make up their mind on that, but I do think this one offers just a little bit more by way of painting a clear picture of a summertime scene. The description for this is just off the beach, more so in the floral beds in the Dominican Republic. Now, while I haven't necessarily been on a beach like that in the Dominican Republic, I can picture that because I'm in Florida, we've got beaches. We definitely have that setting here, and this one paints that picture in my mind clear as day. So perfect summertime scent. And it's not necessarily gonna be the loudest summertime fragrance, but for me, this one does last on the skin, so I get that summertime refreshing feel throughout the day. Once again, from the house of Day 3 fragrances in the 4th spot, this is Bani. All right, moving on to the top 3. In the 3rd spot from the house of Hermes, it's Terre d'Hermes Eau Givree. Terre d'Hermes Eau Givree. In layman's term, it pretty much smells like grapefruit juice. More accurately, the notes given are citron, Sichuan pepper, and juniper. I think the vetiver that is synonymous with Terre d'Hermes is definitely still in here, just maybe not the prominent note. That citron giving a grapefruit-like smell, and that juniper giving an overall cooling feeling. So it's like grapefruit juice with ice in it. It's not overly tart, but it is very cooling and very refreshing, which is perfect usage in terms of a fragrance when you're talking about countering the heat and humidity that is synonymous with summertime. This one, if nothing else, is just functionally a good fragrance to wear when it's hot out because it counters that heat so well. Now, I would imagine grapefruit juice is not everybody's first choice in terms of a summertime drink. That's probably more like a cool glass of lemonade. So honorable mention would be Dior Homme Cologne. Obviously, that kind of smells like a cool glass of lemonade, but I don't have it, so I can't feature it on the list. So I figured this is the next best alternative, and this is done so well, I gotta put it in my top 3. Once again, from the house of Hermes at the 3rd spot, this is Terre d'Hermes Eau Givree. All right, coming in at the 2nd runner-up spot from the house of Nishane, we've got Hacivat. Nishane Hacivat. I think this fragrance was just purely designed to be great for the summertime anyway. Very tart grapefruit and like citrus in this, mixed with a little bit of jasmine to kind of give this creaminess to the overall dryness of the fragrance. It's just there to, I think, just counter it a little bit. It's not overly indolic. It's not that kind of jasmine. And then you got a lot of oak moss and a lot of cedarwood in the dry down. This fragrance is very sharp and piercing for that heat and that humidity. So me living in Florida, it's just a perfect fragrance for that scenario. It's my most worn fragrance to date as far as how much juice is gone. And I've actually avoided wearing it this summer so far just because I have a lot of newer fragrances that are good for the summertime, but I still gotta put this one right there at the top. If I stopped buying summer fragrances today, I would put this in the rotation right away. Once again, from the house of Nishane, this is Hacivat. All right, coming in at the number 1 spot, my number 1 fragrance in my cabinet for summertime. This is going to be from the house of Louis Vuitton, and it's Pacific Chill. Louis Vuitton Pacific Chill. Shouldn't be a surprise, I've been talking this one up ever since I got it in terms of, you know, a great summer fragrance. It's my designer summer release of last year. And man, now I will say that this one, I think, kind of serves both purposes, where I do think summertime when I smell this really nice lemony like citrus, and overall just kind of smells like a green smoothie, a fruity green smoothie, which actually can be a good drink in terms of drinking a smoothie in the heat. May not necessarily be everyone's first choice, but it does counter the heat in my opinion if it is blended well with enough fruits, which this one kind of has that. There's a little bit of a tartness in this fragrance as well. And also just from a functional standpoint, I've worn this plenty of times when it has been hot and humid out. The fragrance cuts through that, gives a refreshing feeling when you're in that environment, and it lasts, at least on my skin, it lasts all the way through it. So as it stands right now, this is just a clear #1 summertime fragrance choice because it is one of my most worn fragrances this summer to date. And in terms of me needing something to kind of counter the effects of a summer day, this fragrance just does it very, very well. And I enjoy every minute I get a sniff of it in the air. Once again, from the house of Louis Vuitton, this is Pacific Chill at the #1 spot. All right, guys, that is gonna do it. That was my top 10 summer fragrance list. Let me know down in the comments below what some of your favorite summer fragrances are. If you wanna leave your own top 10, feel free to do so. I'm certainly looking forward to seeing what you guys have to say. Thanks again for watching all the way into the end. Really do appreciate you guys. Please remember to be well and smell well, and I will see you in the next episode of The Fragrance Well. Have a good one.